Welcome to today's lesson, champions. Today, we are going to master one of the coolest tools in calculus, the Limit Comparison Theorem. Look at this graph. Do you see that black line wiggling back and forth? That is an oscillating function. Sometimes math behaves like a wild roller coaster that won't sit still, and our standard calculation methods just break down. But don't worry, we have a secret weapon. When we can't calculate a limit directly because a function is too messy, we evaluate it by comparing it to functions we already understand. Look at those red lines. They are acting like a hug or a squeeze on the messy function. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to use this squeezing effect to solve even the trickiest limits with total confidence. You've got this. Before we continue, dear friends, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video with your friends, and also leave comments to encourage us to continue making this kind of content. Before we dive into the deep end, let's take a quick look back at our math compass, the different types of limits. Think of a limit as a destination. Even if the function never actually arrives at that point, the limit tells us exactly where it's headed. In the first graph, we see a limit at a point. The function is aiming for a specific hole in the graph. In the second, limit at infinity, the function settles down and follows a horizontal line as x gets huge. The third shows an infinite limit, where the function rockets up to the sky along a vertical line. And finally, an infinite limit at infinity is when the function just keeps growing forever as we move to the right. Understanding these destinations is key, because today we're going to learn how to find them, even when the path looks blurry. Now, let's talk about our biggest obstacle, oscillating functions. Meet sine and cosine, the math world's ultimate yo-yos. If I ask you what the limit of sine of x is as x goes toward positive infinity, what would you say? Look at the graph. It goes up to 1, down to -1, up to 1, over and over forever. It never settles. Because it never picks a final destination, we say the limit does not exist. This is a huge problem for us because we can't add, subtract, or multiply limits if one of them is missing. It's like trying to build a bridge with a piece that keeps disappearing. This is exactly why we need our new tool, to help us handle these rebels that refuse to sit still. Let's learn our first formal rule, the comparison theorem for lower bounds. Think of this as the big brother logic. Imagine you have two functions, f of x and g of x. If f of x is always greater than or equal to g of x, and g of x is heading all the way to positive infinity, where does f of x have to go? It has no choice. Since it's always above the function that's exploding upward, it gets pushed up to infinity too. The formal rule is simple. If f of x is greater than or equal to g of x for large values of x, and the limit of g of x is infinity, then the limit of f of x must also be infinity. It's a powerful way to prove a function is growing without bound just by looking at its smaller neighbor. Before we continue, dear friends, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video with your friends, and also leave comments to encourage us to continue making this kind of content. Now for the star of the show, the Squeeze Theorem, also known as the guards. This is one of the most elegant concepts in calculus. Imagine a function f of x that is trapped or sandwiched between two other functions, g of x and h of x. We call g and h the red guards because they provide the boundaries. If both the lower guard g and the upper guard h are heading toward the exact same destination L at infinity, what happens to poor f of x in the middle? It is squeezed. It has absolutely nowhere else to go. Because it is always between them, it is forced to arrive at that same limit L. Mathematically, if g of x is less than or equal to f of x, which is less than or equal to h of x, and both g and h have a limit of L, then f of x must also have a limit of L. Isn't that beautiful? To make you a limit-solving pro, I've broken this down into a universal 4-step method. Follow these and you'll never get lost. Step 1, frame. Start by bounding your oscillating function. We know that sine and cosine are always stuck between -1 and 1. Step 2, build. Use algebra to turn that simple -1 to 1 range into your target function, f of x. Step 3, evaluate. Calculate the limits of your guard functions, the bounds. Step 4, conclude. State your final limit using the comparison or squeeze theorem. It's like following a recipe. Stick to the steps and you'll get the perfect answer every time. Let's put our method into practice with exercise 1. We need to calculate the limit of 7 sine of x plus 8x as x goes to infinity. Right away, we see the rebel sine of x. We can't just add the limits because the limit of sine of x doesn't exist. So let's use our strategy. Step 1, frame. We write down that -1 is less than or equal to sine of x, which is less than or equal to 1. Simple, right? Now, step 2, build. We want our middle term to look like the original function. First, we multiply everything by 7. That gives us -7 is less than or equal to 7 sine of x, which is less than or equal to 7. Next, we add 8x to all 3 parts. Now we have our function sandwiched between 8x minus 7 and 8x plus 7. We've successfully framed our target. Before we continue, dear friends, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video with your friends, and also leave comments to encourage us to continue making this kind of content. Moving to the resolution of exercise 1. Since we are looking for the limit as x goes to positive infinity, we suspect the function is going to blow up. This means we only really need to worry about the lower bound, the left side of our inequality. We identify our lower guard as g of x equals 8x minus 7. Now for step 3, evaluate. We take the limit of 8x minus 7 as x goes to infinity. Since x is growing forever, 8x minus 7 is definitely going to positive infinity. Finally, step 4, conclude. Because our original function, 7 sine of x plus 8x, is always greater than or equal to our lower bound, and our lower bound is going to infinity, the comparison theorem tells us that our original function must also go to positive infinity. Great job! You just solved your first limit comparison problem. Let's try exercise 2, the direct minoration. We want the limit of 4 cosine x plus 5x squared. Again, we follow our 4 steps. 1. Frame. Start with -1 is less than or equal to cosine x, which is less than or equal to 1. 2. Multiply. Multiply by 4 to get -4 is less than or equal to 4 cosine x, which is less than or equal to 4. 3. Add. Add 5x squared to all parts to get 5x squared minus 4 on the left and 5x squared plus 4 on the right. 4. Isolate. We only need the lower bound. F of x is greater than or equal to 5x squared minus 4. 5. Limit. As x goes to infinity, x squared goes to infinity, so 5x squared minus 4 also hits infinity. 6. Conclusion. By the comparison theorem, the entire function, 4 cosine x plus 5x squared, goes to infinity. You see the pattern? It's all about finding that floor that pushes everything up. Now, pay close attention because exercise 3 is a challenge, the inverse trap. We need the limit of 5x squared divided by cosine x plus 9. Step 1 starts with the denominator. We know -1 is less than or equal to cosine x, which is less than or equal to 1. Adding 9 gives us 8 is less than or equal to cosine x plus 9, which is less than or equal to 10. But here is the trap. We need this in the denominator. When we flip fractions, take the inverse, the direction of the inequality signs must flip too. It's like saying since 10 is bigger than 8, then 10.1 must be smaller than 10.8. So 1/8 becomes the upper bound and 10.1 becomes the lower bound. We rearrange it naturally so the smaller number is on the left. 1.1 is less than or equal to 1 over cosine x plus 9, which is less than or equal to 1.8. Don't let the flip trip you up. Continuing exercise 3 resolution. Now that we've handled the denominator, we multiply all sides by 5x squared. Since we are heading to positive infinity, 5x squared is positive, so the inequality signs stay exactly as they are. This gives us 5x squared over 10 on the left and our target function in the middle. We can simplify that lower bound. 5 over 10 is just 1/2, so our lower bound is 1/2 x squared. Just like before, we evaluate the limit of this lower bound. As x goes to infinity, 1/2 x squared also goes to infinity. Conclusion? Since our function is always above something going to infinity, the comparison theorem proves the final limit is positive infinity. You navigated the trap perfectly. Before we continue, dear friends, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video with your friends, and also leave comments to encourage us to continue making this kind of content. Let's look at exercise 4, the indeterminate trap. This one looks scary. We have a big fraction with powers of x and a sine function. If we just plug in infinity, we get infinity divided by infinity, which is an indeterminate form. That's a math dead end. Our strategy here is to factor by the highest degree term. In the numerator, the boss is x to the power 4. We factor it out to get x to the 4th times 1 plus 4 over x to the 4th. In the denominator, the boss is x squared. Since sine is just a small wiggling number between -1 and 1, it doesn't grow. We factor out x squared to get x squared times 6 sine of x over x squared plus 3. Now we can simplify x to the 4th over x squared to just x squared outside the brackets. We've rewritten the function into 3 manageable blocks. In exercise 4, we encounter a strange term, 6 sine of x divided by x squared. How do we find its limit? We use the Squeeze Theorem, the guards. Step 1, -1 is less than or equal to sine of x, which is less than or equal to 1. Step 2, multiply by 6 to get -6 and 6 as bounds. Step 3, divide everything by x squared. Since x squared is positive, signs stay the same. Now look, as x goes to infinity, -6 over x squared goes to 0, and 6 over x squared also goes to 0. Since the guards both go to 0, our middle term, 6 sine of x over x squared, is squeezed and must also have a limit of 0. This is a critical step to simplifying the whole problem. We've just erased the complexity of the sine function by proving it disappears at infinity. Final stretch for exercise 4. Let's assemble our blocks. Block 1 is x squared, which goes to infinity. Block 2 is the numerator part, 1 plus 4 over x to the 4th. Since 4 over infinity is 0, this block just becomes 1. Block 3 is the denominator part, 6 sine of x over x squared plus 3. We just proved the first part goes to 0, so this block becomes 0 plus 3, which is 3. Now look at the assembly. The fraction portion, 1 divided by 3, tends toward 1/3. Our entire limit takes the form infinity times 1/3. And what is 1/3 of infinity? It's still infinity. Final conclusion. The limit of f of x as x goes to infinity is positive infinity. You've taken a massive, complicated fraction and broken it down into simple building blocks. That is high-level calculus. To wrap up, let's look at this diagnostic matrix. It's your cheat sheet for reading the patterns. If you have a direct sum, like 7 sine of x plus 8x, use lower bound comparison. If you have an inverse, like 5x squared over cosine x plus 9, flip the inequalities and use comparison. If you have an indeterminate form with different powers, use factorization and the Squeeze theorem. Remember the golden rule. Whenever trigonometric functions like sine or cosine block your path at infinity, direct calculation is impossible. Bounding the function is your only key to unlocking the answer. You've done amazing work today. Keep practicing, and you'll be a limit master in no time.